Hello, everyone. Welcome to not quite a Halloween edition of GBC Live, but we're getting there. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. And tonight, along with Vic co-hosting, we've got Erik Mathy on. Uh, we've got a lot of topics that we can cross on. Definitely go ahead, and if you have any questions, add them to the comments. But I'll hold off a little bit right now as people start to filter in. One thing I do want to note, and if you happen to be watching and heard the news, that three cyclists were hit in Huntington Beach yesterday. One was killed, Eric Williams, in the cycling community. Uh, I am it's a little outside of my circle, but I'm definitely adjacent to a lot of people that know him, and it's a big tragedy. They lost his life, and already had the driver in custody. So I just wanted to post a little GoFundMe that they have going. It's already gotten a lot of support, but you can tell he has a really large family, and what a great loss to his family and the cycling community. So, with that somber note, this is kind of like the reverse. We're a community, and cycling brings us together. So, a lot of good and connections we make are pretty important as well. So, let's bring Erik and Vic. And hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah. Sorry, just moving. Yes. Good evening. I like talking bikes. I like talking Bay Area stuff. As you know, we were just up there this last weekend, and now we were in Sonoma. Would you consider Sonoma Bay Area or Northern California?
It's Northern California. I mean, from where I am, Sonoma's really, really close. Like, I can be there in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on where in Sonoma you are. Because I'm out in the East Bay, like right next to the bridge that meanders over into that direction, the Martinez Bridge. So I'm Sonoma adjacent, you could say. Yeah.
Yes, I've now kind of learned to distinguish between, even though I used to live in the East Bay for a few years, Bay Area versus Northern California, and
Right.
I think there is a clear distinction between the two.
I just learned that just now.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the further north you get, the less they are likely to claim the Bay Area as being part of them, because they're like, I don't know about San Francisco folk,
That makes sense.
Yeah, true. I can't blame them.
Although I heard there's a debate whether to call it NorCal or Northern California, because I've heard some people say we have time to say Northern.
Tomato, baby.
Yes.
I've been here since '96, and I've done both. And also Raul in the chat, thoughts and prayers agreed on that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's 6 or 1/2 dozen of the other, as my pops would say. My pop's from the UP. He says a lot.
So, first of all, Erik, I'm sure a lot of people have seen your photographs back and forth, but I'm kind of like curious because my first elective in school was photography when I was in middle school, and I was really intimidated at first because back then it was all film.
Right.
And luckily we were able to make a dark room in one of our closets in the house, because it was really hard to get darkroom time in a class of 30 people.
Right.
And I did terribly in there at school, but that's kind of my origin story with photography.
I did the same thing. I had an enlarger in my closet in my mom's house.
You legit had an enlarger in your closet?
Yeah, it was a color hit. I never did color, but I did do black and white in the closet. It was the bathroom or the closet. I had one in the house for a while. I never did color. It was a color hit. I wish I could remember what brand it was.
As an adult or as a middle schooler?
No, as a high schooler.
Okay, I was like
10th or 11th grade. I had that at the house. Yeah.
Wow, your folks were all in.
Yeah, I still
Wait,
have
did it
some of my
belong to your
pictures.
parents, or did they get it for you?
No, my parents got it for me.
Wow.
And sorry to make this about me.
No, dude, that's cool. Your parents
But
are dope, is what
I
this
still
is.
have some of the pictures that I developed.
Nice.
And it's so funny because I signed them and my signature is completely different from what it is now.
Everyone's like, that ain't you.
It was
That's
all
not-
like perfect cursive. Like it probably took me 5 minutes to write it. And I was like,
dude, our signatures get so much worse with age.
it's horrible.
We
Anyway,
become like a doctor.
yeah,
Bike injuries. What can I
100%.
say? I can't hold a pen.
Yeah,
yep. Broken fingers.
totally.
So wait, did you grow up in the East Bay or
No, I'm from Wisconsin. I was born in Madison,
Uh-huh.
and we moved up to the Green Bay area when I was 8.
Mhm.
So technically, Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, which is like 30 miles ish out of Madison, is my hometown. But my formative years were up in the Green Bay area in a little suburb of Green Bay called De Pere, Wisconsin. I'm a West De Pere phantom,
Mhm.
don't you know? And my dad's a Youper, so that stuff slides right in there sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
Don't you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
The more beer I have, the worse it gets. Just
well, one of our good friends just moved to Wisconsin. 2 people, and they keep sending me stuff about their gravel scene, and I also have a fat bike, which will come in handy the next month or 2 up there as well. And that's the great part about gravel is you just learn about other places in the country just from the images and people riding,
right.
rather than crits, are basically a few downtown blocks and that's it. But definitely, being able to travel and to go to these events definitely open your perception of an area.
And they just had nationals in that area. I can't remember if nationals were in Minnesota or Wisconsin, because I had friends who went and they were sort of camped up in Wisconsin, and then the races in Minnesota. I don't really track USAC stuff that much, but the nationals were over there. I can't remember. Again, I can't remember if it was Minnesota or Wisconsin. I want to say it was Wisconsin. If it wasn't, it should have been, because Wisconsin's just better. Sorry, my Minnesota friends. Sorry.
Ooh,
sorry. I'm wearing a Minnesota cyclocross shirt. Sorry.
So then what came first, photography or cycling?
Oh, photography.
Uh-huh.
No
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom handed me her camera, a Pentax K1000, when I was like a junior in high school. I remember because out of nowhere, she was like, "Hey, come here," and we went into my parents' bedroom. And she pulled out this little camera bag and she put this camera, all manual, right? Sort of explained the basics. It was a meter. I'm gonna put my hand over here like it's a needle. Meter on the side, needle meter. 2 lenses, I think. And she's like, "I think you might enjoy this." I was like a junior, right, in high school as a kid. And I was like, you don't question my mom, right? Not because she's super intimidating, although she can be terrifying, but because she's just really, really smart. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met, right? And she's very, very intuitive and empathetic, and so she just understands people. And when she says, "Hey, why don't you do this? I think it might be interesting," she would do it in such a way as you're like, "Yeah, you're right. I think that would be interesting," because she would just sort of know what you would find interesting. That's just my mom, right? She was a high-level business executive for a long time and just shattered glass ceilings left, right, and center. So she was right. And I tried for years to learn how to draw, because one of my good friends, when he moved up there, which is just amazing, he could draw. Jesse Lindo, he could draw anything, right? And then this guy named Mike Holtman. And I was just and I could never draw. I would try to draw what I saw and just be so mad because I couldn't make it look like reality.
Did you?
And then I picked up the fucking camera, first
Yeah.
word, sorry about that, and I could take photos that looked like reality. And it was like, oh.
Wait, when you were trying to draw, was it because everything was coming out like flat, like 2D?
Yeah. I didn't understand 3D and texture and everything. Like
I would
I was
try to draw cars, and they would look like somebody running over with a steamroller. It was just
100% exactly. Like
like,
you're like 8 or 9, and no one's like
Damn
actually
it.
like teaching you how to draw and anything. And I was like a
okay,
gratification
good.
kind of guy, and just like shelved it. But
All
then
right, good.
photography,
It wasn't just me.
No, bro. No, it was me. It was everybody. It was all of us want to be artistes.
But wait, I want to back up because you said, how old were you when she gave you the camera?
Junior in high school, so it must have been like 16 or 17.
So before you were 16 or 17, didn't you have a bicycle like as a kid?
I mean, I did, but not like a serious bike rider, right? Like I taught myself how to ride a bike. Like I resisted it for so long. And then right before we moved up to Green Bay, I just got on a bike and went down the back alleyway, and that was that. Like there was no lessons, there were no safety wheels, none of that stuff.
No.
I didn't do it because I was scared. And then one day we were behind my buddy's garage, and I just got on the bike and I rode down the driveway and the alleyway in Mount Horeb, and that was that. I knew how to ride a bike. So we rode all over the place in the pier, me and my friends, like, no hands and playing fighter jet, having dog fights, crashing occasionally. But like serious riding, like actually riding wasn't until I moved to San Francisco in '96.
Okay.
I think most of us do that, right? We learn how to ride bikes as kids, and then we go to college and get driver's licenses, and then like bikes aren't cool anymore. And then we sort of discover a lot of people, anyways. Maybe not you.
No, that's for sure. That I was telling Zach recently that people, once they get their license, they forget about their bikes.
Yeah.
But I was kind of weird. I never forgot about the bike. So that's just me. But I guess that happens. People get a bike, and then they learn to drive, and then that's it.
Yeah, because it's our, well, at least, and we can get into this too, but like for our generation, for a lot of generations, like that's how we got around. Our parents didn't drive their asses around.
Right, exactly. My bike was my car.
A lot of parents drive their kids around, and they don't learn how to ride bikes.
No, or they get in an Uber. They just push a button and a car comes.
Yep.
No, I think the sad part is a lot of kids are getting on these electric motorcycle bikes.
Yeah.
That's a new thing, though.
I'm seeing like a lot of kids that are just a little bit older than my daughter on these things. And it's kind of like, now there's like, 5, 6, one kid gets one, then the other kid wants one. And next thing you know, you've got like 8 of them going down the street. So
and those are not bicycles. They're super fast, and it's crazy.
Some, yeah. Man, there's so many tangents we could like. I'm seeing like little places we could skitter off into like declining rider population.
No.
Coming from.
Go back to the camera.
Like,
well,
where you want to go?
Sorry.
Like, there's so many things to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I do want to get into culture, but I want to kind of like start off a little bit more with the camera question.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, hit me.
So like one thing that we've had like Dominique Powers and Alex Colorado on here.
Fabulous.
But I'm just wondering, like, you got your start off a little bit more on film rather than digital.
100%.
And I'm just wondering, because like I don't have extensive experience there, like what does that bring to the table for you, and especially as this technology just evolved so fast?
Well, you're right. Like I went to school, so I went to school for photojournalism at the Rochester Institute of Technology, which is arguably like one of the places to go there in Missouri and one or two other places. And like digital was like the first digital like Apple Quick Take 50 or whatever it was came out like my junior year in college. Absolute crap, right? So yeah, we were 100% film. And I took a long hiatus from photography until I started getting into motorcycles and racing motorcycles and photographing like the Bol d'Or. It's a 24-hour motorcycle race in France. I went over and photographed that on digital, right? And supermotard racing on digital.
Nice.
But I came back to film after I became a reformed bike packer. Like, I made a single speed attempt at Tour Divide in 2011 with a little Canon like S100, I think was a camera I brought with me, a little digital, and failed. bounced out as many people do, which had a significant sort of emotional impact on me. And I didn't really do any serious writing for a couple of years after that, because it really, like, people don't talk about it, but like the Tour Divide is an absolute hammer on you. Win or lose, finish, don't finish. Like, you don't come out of the Tour Divide. You're not normal when you go to the Tour Divide, and you're even less normal when you complete your saga, however it comes out.
That sounds like a whole nother episode.
Oh, yeah. The Divide is something else.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
So anyways, a few years after that, I went on a bikepacking trip down the California Lost Coast, which is Crescent City down to San Francisco, through the Big Green Chunk, right? It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I took a film camera and the digital, and I compared the two, and I just liked the film. I like this film. And I just, at that point on, I just was pretty much predominantly 100% film with like a little digital as backup. Like, even now, the stuff I shoot for, say, the Radavist or Mountain Flyer or whatever, or Far Steel, like, the bulk of the stuff I do for my personal projects, which in turn placed with these publications, is film based. And I also typically will build cameras specifically for the project, so I also build my own cameras, and I build my own lenses.
Wow, that's like a musician that picks a certain guitar or a certain instrument that fits the job or the sound,
right.
The genre.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Is it also a nostalgia thing, or it's just the end product you like better?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I like the process, So your question, Vic, you prefer Vic or Victor?
Either.
Okay. Is that partially like the process when you come through shooting primarily film or entirely film, your shots are more sparing, right? Because typically you got 36 shots in a roll.
Right, exactly. I was gonna say you're much limited. Yes.
Right. And rolls of film or budget. If you went out to shoot something for a magazine or publication or whatever, or freelance, you blew through 20 rolls, right? And they run 10 shots. That's a fucking waste, dude. Right. And so, like my buddy Mark Beamer, who I went to college with for a couple of years, he's out on the East Coast. He's primarily a musician, photographer. He's My Chemical Romance's tour photographer. He's amazing guy. He shoots digital, of course, but he's like, you get to the point with film where you shoot 36 shots, and the point of pride is you get 36 shots that are good to bangers, and there's no bullshit, right? And so that becomes a point of pride. If you shoot a lot of film, you shoot sparingly, and every frame's got to be fucking good, because it's more economical, and also it's a point of pride. Like, you made the shot, you made it good. Whereas, like, when you go digital, and I find myself doing this, like, you peek it, you peek it. And I saw this great interview I can give you the link to with Eugene Richards, who's far and away my favorite photographic hero, when he was talking about switching to film. And he's just like, you just find yourself shooting hundreds of frames that you just didn't need to shoot, and you don't think as much, and you're less thoughtful because you can just shoot. And that's a challenge, right? I mean, there's bonuses because you can just be like, I'm not about this 1 second, I don't know what's about to happen, I'm gonna just wrap this thing and then peek it, and okay, there's this one variation in the middle that's great. Whew. Thank God I got that shot.
Also, you have to look at all those proofs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at. I've been on so many photo shoots, like every picture looks the same to me, like from here to here. So how do you pick?
But they're not. They're subtle, right?
They're subtle, but I mean, they're subtle enough to, like, you could take a third of those and still get a good one.
Yeah, totally. You can throw away 2/3 of what you shoot on digital. But film really forces you to slow down and think about what you're about to do, for sure.
Yeah, I that's the one thing I learned. I just don't have that mentality or confidence yet when shooting on film to feel confident enough. And it's definitely an acquired skill, that especially in the world of cycling, where things can move really fast, and trying to capture that and tell a story that way is something that I have a Fuji X100
Brilliant camera.
which, you know, is great. Teaches me a little bit how, and like is a nice little go-between to kind of like get me to understand. But I definitely know I would appreciate it a lot more on film. And it's funny, my dad went to film school and was a TV editor. And in the 80s, he worked on a lot of sitcoms. And it was interesting because like a lot of sitcoms were shot on that 2-inch videotape, but a couple of them shot on film, like Cheers. And it's funny when you watch Cheers versus a lot of the other shows, total other feel, and it definitely adds to.
I never thought of that. Cheers is shot on film. That's it. No wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Well, it's like, you know, there's been a resurgence in movies where they're shooting 70mm stock, the big boy stock, and you can tell like the rendering and the quality, and also the feel of how a film renders versus digital is significantly different. And there's some things that you simply can't fake in post. You know, I'll shoot stuff where I do a digital backup, like this. Like I tell people when I make portraits with them, like I'm crazy to shoot this 8x10 or 4x5 inch camera or whatever to make this portrait with you, but I'm not so crazy that I don't take a digital backup, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like when I'm doing that, and I'm using a handmade lens, which really renders things in very different ways. Like there have been times when I've missed the film shot, right? The film doesn't come out, something happens, film being filmed. And I've tried to have to recreate that shot with a digital in Photoshop. And it's like, oh my God, this is the most gigantic pain in the ass. I just bleep myself for your sake. Possible. Like I can't reproduce the combination of film and handmade camera lens post-process. Like I can't do it. So I find a lot of pressure when I shoot with that combination. Or I have to nail it, or it's gone forever because I can't go back to that event. I can't go back and make that portrait again. I can't make Sea Otter happen again, or Mid-South, or whatever. Like I'm screwed till next year, and the piece has got to run. So that's it. You missed it, right?
Yeah.
No pressure.
I think this is going to be a bad segue, but but you know, for the when I shoot my videos, you know, I just shoot a lot of carpet bomb with the footage and just kind of look at it later and put it together. But you know, an interesting moment happened with me and Vic this weekend because initially I was going to try and do this 400-mile mega hopper.
Oh, yeah, I saw Ted King came out.
Yes. And
40,000 feet of gain.
And I do want to make a real attempt at it next year. I kind of like, even looking at it, I kind of learned a little. But what was interesting is, you know, we hung out with Mig Crawford and we did a little ride. And, you know, the plan was our shorter, the mega hopper loops back into Occidental at mile 142. So we were like, oh, maybe we'll catch some people come in. And what was interesting was the first person we saw there was Ted King. And he was in his trunk grabbing stuff and getting ready. And, you know, Mig was kind of talking to him. And then we both kind of realized maybe we shouldn't be talking to him. Because, like, he's, you know, because here he is trying to plan for the next, you know, 16 hours, and he's got all of his stuff, but trying to keep everything in check there while being gracious enough to talk to other people. We were just kind of like, okay, we should step back.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of time, like, you know, people either know I'm filming or they don't know, don't see, but, you know, I'm on a, you know, I'm riding, but it's just really interesting to do that. So, like, how do you feel like when you are out there at these events? Like, do you feel like, how much do you feel like you have to insert yourself when you're covering these things?
Right. And I think I mean, that's a really great question. It's also a great example because I chased Ted and Chase on their Mega Mid-South efforts at Mid-South this year, right? I was in the truck with Bobby and Josh, with Tilly and Rhett doing Chase behind us. Like, it was absolute mayhem. Absolute Bobby Wintle inspired mayhem. And in that scenario, especially when somebody's chasing FKT, right? Like, you can't let them draft you. If you're kicking up dust, you're getting in their way. Like, you can't let them, like, you can ask quick questions, you can take shots, but then you also have to realize that you also have to GTFO, get the fuck out of their way, right? And Ted is a wonderful human being, and he's gracious as the day is long for the most part, until he needs you to get out of his way, and then he will gently but firmly be like, I gotta go, right? But he's never really a jerk about it. He's a pro, right?
Ooh, I'm glad we didn't get to that point.
Yeah, no, because Ted's he's a pro.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't want to get there. Yeah,
Ted's got to go.
Yeah,
right. Racers race.
Yes.
Go. And so, depending on the piece that's being done, right? So if it's interview heavy, then like they know I'm already arranged. Like, these are the interviews I'm going to do. I'm going to try to pre-arrange interviews because it just makes it more sane. You know what I mean? You do the research. You figure out who you're going to talk to. You arrange the time you're going to talk to them. Like, when I do something like San Francisco to Tucson or the Mega Mid-South or things of that nature, where I'm basically mixing bike packing with reportage, right? It behooves me to not only do my logistics of, on this day I'm starting here and I'm ending here, and here's all my food and water, but on that course, here are the places that might be interesting to do interviews. You know, like in the Mega Mid-South, there's a donkey rescue, which is fascinating, and it was adorable, and they had a lot of really interesting things to say about the state of America and the politics, and because that was the thrust of that piece, is, our love letters still relevant? Like, can we be kind to each other, even if they're from different political perspectives, right? And so I'll prearrange those, and also prearrange the time, so I know when I need to be where, and they're expecting me, and I know what I'm doing. But for a documentary, right, like, then it's more a matter of like making sure that the subject knows that I'm going to be there. I'm going to be shooting. This is the access I'm going to need. I will not get in your way. I will not help you. I will not hinder you. You know, I'm going to be professional, but I'm going to be there. If I get in the way, you shoot me a look or say, Eric, get the fuck out of my way, and I will move rapidly, right? Not a problem, because my point is, I am not inserting myself in the story.
Right.
The story is not about me. And at the same time, you have to establish rapport with the people that you're working with so that they are natural, right? Because otherwise, you know, you're not telling, you're doing a PR piece, right? You're not actually telling a genuine story, right? You're not creating empathy, because they're themselves have some sort of armor, some sort of presentation up, and you can't create empathy working with somebody who isn't fully transparent and committed to being open, right?
Right.
And I think that cycling media in general, we don't produce. I was actually just talking with a guy named James Merrithew last week about this, who's also a cycling photographer, but comes from a even more hardcore photojournalism background. Like, he was the director of photography for the San Francisco Chronicle, right? He was the director of photography for Wired.com. He was a daily newspaper shooter before that. Like, Jim comes from a hardcore daily news background. And we were just talking about how we get a lot of, in cycling media, we get a lot of like race photos. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of great race photos. We get a lot of like pre-race photos at the start line, maybe people eating breakfast, emotional finishes and exhaustion afterwards. But we get these bangers, right? Like, start line, start, 3 or 4 shots from the race, some shenanigans, some drama, sprint finish, exhaustion, dirt, coverage is done. But we don't really seem to be able to find ways to dig into things like what really happens before or after that, what happens Like I saw this great video of a tiny little kid in France, you know, and it's like his day was made, and the Peloton came by, and like the guys at the end threw him his water bottles, and the kid was ecstatic. Must have been like a 6-year-old. But we don't know who that kid is. We don't know why he loves bikes so much. We don't know if this is special because he loves bikes, or if this is special because once a year he goes with his grandparents and this is the thing that they do, right? Like we don't have these really great, rich stories being surfaced that are absolutely there, right? And I feel like we just have we live in a time where empathy is being eroded, right? Because of politics and social media and stuff. And yet at the same time, when we look around, we have an almost endless supply of incredible stories and amazing people that we can dig into and create empathy with. And it doesn't matter if it's in cycling or if it's someplace else. Like, it's there. We just need to go do the work. We also need to find somebody who's willing to pay us for it, because people also need to fucking eat, right? And
I was going to ask, so even if you had that, you know, people's attention spans are so short. You know, everybody wants to just scroll to the next thing, they're not going to dig deep into a story. So how do you overcome that?
Sorry, Zach, you're about to...
No. I just was raising my hand for a short attention span.
Okay. I would say I would both agree and disagree with that, right?
Okay.
I think like the algorithms want us to be that way.
For sure.
But I also think we're that
Keep
way
it moving.
because the bulk of the stuff that we're fed with algorithms is surface level deep candy. It has no caloric intake. There's nothing meaty about it, right?
Right.
And also we have to differentiate, I think, between social media and Instagram feeds and actual magazine content, right? And actual like publication content, where you are able to craft like an experience as you go downwards. The New York Times multimedia section is an incredible example of that. Like as you scroll through like the New York Times pieces, like the video plays as it comes by and like things happen and unfold. Like you can craft incredible, gripping experiences. And I think people engage in that willingly when it has a really great content and emotion behind it. And that is radically different than social media feeds, right? So I both agree and challenge you on that, right? I don't think we put in enough time and work to make the work happen for people to actually dive into.
No, well, I mean, hold on a second. Oh, hello. I didn't see you comment. It's for Eric.
There's our
but actually, I want to bring him up too, because I love. Well, I'll put his channel up 10% more complicated. I love watching his videos.
I've seen a few too. I enjoy it too.
And it's a very different style from mine, and it's so calming to watch. And you know, I do like a cut every 3 seconds on my thing, and sometimes I think that's too much. Whereas, like when I watch his videos, very few cuts sometimes, and you're just kind of discovering along with what he's discovering.
He's like the Quentin Tarantino of bike videos. It's like one long shot.
Yeah. And
cool.
Like, he just like turns and goes, "Oh, hello." I didn't see you there, like Mr. Rogers or something. Like, just like.
But like,
no, that guy.
I do agree that like, and I'm actually when I'm on the internet, like I'm searching for more long form videos, and it's funny because it's like it seems to be a lot of retired people traveling through Europe,
right?
But like I find those calming. Sometimes I have to, I'll watch them 2-3 times because I just, sitting down, like I still feel like I need to watch them. Like a few times to really get the gist. So different than a lot of the stories, the hundreds of stories.
It's because you're scrolling on your phone while you're looking. You're not
doom scrolling. Yeah.
You're scrolling.
Yeah.
You're not all in.
And I'd say also, like I realize I threw a lot of generalizations out there. Like there are people in cycling media who are producing beauty, like Dominique, you mentioned her, like her portrait series, like whenever possible. Like she is always has incredible projects going on. I have nothing but admiration for her and her work. Like Chris Strickland and his long running work with LA Sweat, the women's criterium team out of LA, the portraits he makes, the stories he tells. That's a passion project, and Chris is really, really good and just a great guy. Who was I just thinking of? Alex Rothko pushes. He tries really hard. He gets some stuff going a lot. Danny Wang is just like that guy. Like, I would love to watch someone give Danny like license to dive into something more documentary style behind the scenes, because his video work for like EF and like some others is so good. He has such a good eye that I'm just silently cheering and hoping that somebody will just come along and hand Danny like a big bag of money and tell him to go shoot some sort of documentary on something. Because I think it'll be fabulous if he's just like let loose to go do the thing. You know what I mean? So there's people out there who are in gravel a lot and pro road who do produce really nice work. I just wish that we could all do more and dig deeper and honestly index less. As much as I love my racer pals, index a little bit less on the racers, right?
Yeah, and I think like, and I understand we have a lot of videos out there of high-tech bikes coming out, the next thing, and well, we're drawn to it too, but like I definitely think the key, and I think about my path into cycling, or I always had a bike, but kind of to the next level was, being intimidated by clothes and
Right.
what type of bike and rules. And I think that the problem is like we've built in, such a high bar for the average person to get into it. Instead,
we've become gatekeepers without knowing we've become gatekeepers.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like when we look back to the origins of gravel, like the original big gravel events were pretty nutty, like the DK Trans Iowa, long, hardcore off-season training events races, right? So the very, very original birth, you could say, are really the DK 200, now Unbound, and the Trans Iowa, right? Which were hardcore. They're for the nuttiest of the nuttiest, right? But then it quickly morphed into this really incredible grassroots thing where it didn't matter what the hell bike you were on. It didn't matter what hell clothes you were wearing. Like, they were just stoked that you'd come out to their tiny town and hang out and go on this really cool like dirt road ride. And I think that sort of like generation or whatever you want to use of gravel was so radically welcoming. I almost said inclusive, but inclusive is a bad word in society now. But it was so radically welcoming that it gave us, like Marley Blonsky and All Bodies on Bikes, it gave us the Black Foxes, right? It gave us like all these different groups. Native Americans Ride, Native Women Ride, which in turn expanded cycling out of the base of like middle class aging white guys that, let's just call a spade is what cycling has been made out of. Like when I went to Paragon and shot a story of Paragon Machine Works and interviewed the guys, well, and said, listen, we wouldn't exist if it weren't for like dentists.
The whole dentist thing.
Because they have a lot of money and they ride bikes. And I thought about my dentist. I'm like, that's exactly what my dentist is. He goes off about riding the Eroica and his bike all the time. I'm just sitting there with my mouth open and he's just talking about his latest bike. I swear to God, I was like, you're right. But anyway, so gravel at its core was so inclusive and it actually grew cycling it grew the pie of cycling. And then the big players came in, and next thing we know, we got UCI and USAC, and it's all racing, and it became gatekeeping again.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it's, if you look at the catalogs, it's beautiful, like skinned people riding gravel bikes again, right? And to your point, Vic, it sort of became gatekeeping again, and I feel like we need to find ways to sort of like gently to strongly roll that back, because, you know, like to your point, Zach, like we're not going to make the world a better place. And I'm direct quoting someone with this. You're not going to make the world a fair, more verdant place by selling a direct quote, fucking $15,000 robo bikes. You do it by selling bikes that are like toasters that people ride every day. They take to the grocery store, they ride to school. And we're not going to get that next generation of racers if we don't introduce kids to bikes right now. Like, where are those kids going to come from? And so I sort of jokingly say that we over-index on racers, but I think we really do seriously over-index on racers. And gravel at its core was the antithesis of that. And I would love to see the bike industry sort of realize that and stop trying to kill the goose that laid the golden egg.
I think we're past the tipping point, unfortunately. I mean,
maybe not.
There's lower cost. There's like, you know, there's certain brands that have bikes that are like, you know, $1,500 for a brand new bike. Yeah. But still, $1,500 is still a lot of money to someone who's never been in this bike. They think I could buy a used car for $1,500. Back to the car thing.
Right.
And also the other problem is not so much the gatekeeping in the bikes, is for kids these days that there's no bike infrastructure. You can't just go right down the street like we did with kids. You get killed. You know, people drive like maniacs. They're going 100 miles an hour down Burbank Boulevard right by my house. It's like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, depending on where you live, for sure.
It's 100%. Nuts out on the street. So parents don't want their kids out there. And if you don't have a place to go, like a track, or, you know, you can get to a gravel road or something, it's really, really hard or scary to get into cycling. Right. I think that's a bigger problem than the gatekeeping, because there's still stuff you can buy, used bikes, people buy Facebook bikes. There's all kinds of things you can do to circumvent the high prices, but there's nothing you can do about the infrastructure right now, unless you live near something.
Right.
Well, that's why, especially here in California, because a lot of the places where, you know, a big part of our population lives by the coast, which also happens to be very mountainous, which is very hard to get people in. But kind of, we brought this up earlier, like I think Sacramento, fantastic community, flat, has places off there, you know, along the river, the channels. And I love that community, which hopefully, if the shutdown doesn't affect my flight, I'll see you in about a week over at the Rodeo Cross.
Yep. Halloween, baby.
And like, you know, we used to have like a few events here that had a lot of excitement and a lot of people out there, and a lot of it has fallen by the wayside.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I knew that COVID was a big opportunity, you know, getting people on bikes. Like, even though we kind of like missed a peak, it doesn't mean we can never hit another peak. It's just a matter of storytelling. And maybe with cycling, we can only go so far with the racing before we have to start telling other cycling stories. Although we also, in this country, have a lot of room to expand on what racing is. So there definitely are a few directions which to go, but like, I think that it is a story that someone can still grab, you know, pick it up and really start moving people, because like, I feel like we've kind of gone through a little bit of waves of people getting into cycling, knowing like, hey, I can save $15 on gas today by just taking the bike to the train, you know. And I just think like if we had some like inventive storytelling, people who are better at telling stories than me
Right.
out there, you don't have to agree with me, Eric.
No. I mean, I interviewed Maurice Tierney, the founder of Dirt Rag. Right, he lives like 2 miles from me that way, and is a buddy of mine from Mountain Flyers, the issue before last. You know, about life after Dirt Rag, right? And one of the things that he said, I mean, he was the one who said you don't make the world a better place by selling $15,000 plastic robo bikes. But he also said that, like the toaster analogy I use, that's his analogy. Like bikes in Europe, right? They're like toasters. You buy them, they're not sexy, and you use them every day, and you don't worry about it, right? But like as a magazine publisher, magazine editor, nobody wanted them to review toasters. Toasters aren't sexy.
No.
Right? They're utilitarian. You sell one, and then you don't sell another one for 8 years, right? Whereas robo bikes, you sell one to somebody who's really into that stuff, and like 3 or 4 years later, you sell another, and you sell another, and that's where all the margins are, right? So, it's really tough in a catch-22, you know. But his point was because I asked him like, "What do you want the world to be like?" He's like, "I want the bike industry to actually spend money, like lobbying Congress. I want the bike industry to stop being so short-sighted and to actually spend money trying to get infrastructure and traffic calming and the things that will guarantee us more people on the roads and also guarantee us more racers in the future."
Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. You're not up against Congress. You're up against the auto lobbies.
Yeah, 100%.
You're up against Goodyear. You're up against GM. You're up against these people, and they all have Congress like this.
Oh yeah,
they own those clowns.
They got
so until that's rectified, which I don't know how that's going to get rectified.
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to be a thing.
You know, but we have to try. I think.
No, for sure, 100%. But it's not going after Congress. It's going after
maybe states,
the auto lot, maybe
do state local. Like voting local is the way to actually change
for
things,
sure.
You know,
I mean, but California does all they can, but we can't fight all the other states that just kowtow to the freaking auto lobby,
right?
And that's the conundrum that we're in.
Yeah, fair.
Totally look, they just yanked all the funding for all the trail rails. They yanked all those things.
Everything that was hostile to cars.
Hostile to cars, right? So that's insane. And that's not the reason. The reason is if people get on bikes, they're not buying cars.
Right.
They're not using their cars. They're not buying gas. They're not burning oil. So oil and rubber and cars, all that's priority because they've got Congress like this.
Yeah, fair.
Well, I thought last year that e-bikes actually outsold electric cars in our country.
Yeah, maybe, but we still need infrastructure to ride e-bikes. Yeah. If they yank all the trails and pave over all the bike, they are ripping out bike lanes that were already installed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're undoing everything that they should be doing. It's just like the whole mentality is completely flipped upside down.
Well, yeah, and a lot of stuff.
To all of our detriments, like it's like horrible.
Well, quickly, since it kind of is related, I just want to throw in this comment here. Yeah. Lewis, Chip, I know, still on a mountain e-bike. You're still welcome to come on our rides. I always tell people, no matter what you got, come out, bring it.
Yeah.
As long as you're on a bike, you're doing it right.
Yep.
Some people are like, "Oh, e-bikers are jerk." I'm like, it's not the bike, it's the person.
Yeah.
That happens. Yep. Most e-bikers are just as cool as everyone else. So.
And Chip, hell if I know how I got to sit at the cool kids table, but you know, it happens. So hang in there. You'll get there because I don't know how I did it.
We like it was great to first meet you there at Sea Otter. You know, and have that moment. And I know, like, Sea Otter is very stressful because it's people who you see who you really want to talk to, yet you know it's also kind of like the Super Bowl of content for everyone.
Right.
So it's almost similar to talking to Ted King and a Mega Hopper. Like, you want to talk and engage, and it's a chance to catch up. But you also know for a lot of these people, it's their opportunity for business too. And that's kind of like the awkward part about being at Sea Otter for us, which allegedly
Right.
Nick and I will be back next year for.
Allegedly.
Sweet.
Allegedly.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, for me, Sea Otter, like, because unless somebody has like a distinct editorial assignment, like the Radivus, it's always, John is always there, and in this case, Spencer's always there. So they don't actually, and they're pumping out content. They don't need anything from me. They're kind enough to allow me to grab a press pass through them, but like they typically don't really need anything from me. So I might, like a couple years ago was the first year they had paracycling classes in every race. So I pitched them. I want to go take portraits of paracyclists in as many races as I could find, and just like ask them what's the one thing they wish people knew about them, right? Just flat out, what do you wish we knew about you as a para athlete? Because I don't fucking know what that's like. I don't know what that question is. And so I'll find stuff like that. Basically all of my editorial stuff, by the way, is self-generated. I come up with all my ideas, I pitch them, and if somebody buys them, I go shoot it. Like very rarely does anybody come to me to get something done. I'm all self-generated, 100%. So for me, Sea Otter is I either need to come up with one really good, interesting idea, like that one, which I shot with a handmade 4x5 and an old 1890s lens. Super fun. That was my COVID camera project. Or some like large overarching thing like the last year, or technically this year, with the Afghan box camera, just like going around and asking people to tell me like their single most important impactful bicycle memory, whatever that happens to be, and just taking a portrait of them and having them tell me that story, and then developing the shot in the camera on the spot so they can see it. That's another camera.
Oh, you developed the film right there?
Yeah, an Afghan box camera is a giant box. It's half camera, half darkroom. And so you take the shot, and then you put your arms inside of it in these dark sleeves, and you develop it inside the camera, and then you pull it out and show it to them.
No way!
Yeah, it's the first.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's first instant camera, or second, really. But yeah, it's called an Afghan box camera.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, it's a fun project.
That is cool.
So I just got to set up shop and just grab people. And like, if you want to come and talk to me, awesome. I'm probably going to ask you a question and make you take a portrait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm approachable as all get out in that scenario, because all I'm there to do is to meet people and interview them and take their portrait. So yeah, come find me. I'll grab you for the project. I might do it again next year. Yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Yeah, my I should have the whole family there if I do go. But yeah, it's very interesting being on our end, and I think I've only been there kind of like under the capacity of trying to cover it at the same time. So yeah, I'm interested in just what people think who are completely separated, and that's why I'm just interested in like what nervous about bringing my family, because I'm like, this could really suck for them. But they've both enjoyed it, and this is going to be the third year coming back.
Nice.
So I'm like, wow.
Camp.
It's a bingo.
Camping is fun. I enjoy camping.
Well, that's another. Well, that should be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
And we've actually gone a little longer than normal, which is okay.
I tend to do that to people. Sorry.
No, I had a strong feeling we would do that. I had a strong feeling that there'd be a lot of unanswered questions, but we would love to have you back on at some point.
I want to hear about the homemade cameras. Like, that's a whole nother skill set. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It's your new hobby, Vic.
I am a devil's advocate. Like, if anybody wants to know anything about building cameras and camera lenses, just ping me. I'm happy to talk about that. I'm happy to talk about like mounting old vintage lenses to brand new DSLRs. Like, it's all that stuff. Like, I shoot a ton of vintage stuff on my digitals. Like I'm a nerd.
That's next level. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, you betcha, for sure.
You betcha. Don't you know it's a thing?
For sure.
All right.
Well, Erik, thank you for joining us. And everyone, if you want to find out more about his work, I've got a link to his Instagram in the YouTube description here. And it's a great little starting point off because he's some fantastic work. And yeah, we barely scratched the surface of storytelling.
Yep.
So, Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Vic, it was a pleasure to meet you, man.
Thank you, you too.
All right. Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Have a good night.